This video demonstrates how to create your own searchable map using Derek Eder's template for Google Fusion tables, demonstrated here, and freely hosted on the web with GitHub Pages. My name is Jack Doherty. You can see the step-by-step tutorial in datavizbook.org. First step, create a point map in Google Fusion tables. Now, this video assumes that users know how to do this introductory step here of creating your points and illustrating those on your map, and also sharing that so that it's public on the web. If you aren't sure how to do that, go check out the tutorial in datavizbook.org. Next step, fork a copy of the template, the searchable map template, from Derek's GitHub account to your own GitHub account. So I'm doing that here on my own system. It takes just a second to copy it over. And I can see I've picked up all the code from Derek's. There's two branches there. And I have to get rid of Derek's GH-Pages branch and just keep his master branch. Then I have to create my new GH Pages branch. That's short for GitHub Pages. Whatever's on this GH Pages branch that I create will become public on the web. It's the hosted version on the GitHub Pages service. Read the tutorial for more details. You can flip back and forth between the branches with that drop-down menu. Now I'm going to edit the index.html in your GitHub Pages branch. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on to edit the code. I'm actually editing all this code with the built-in editor right in the browser. You don't need any other special software to do this. You can do this all right in your browser. And I'm going all the way down here in the index part of the code. This is sort of the front end of what most users see. And around line 122 here, this is where Derek has things like your Google Fusion table ID. You need to go and copy that out of your Google Fusion table, which is under File, About This Table, and go over, drag over that, and make sure you do on the Mac, it'd be like a command copy to pick up that long code. Right-click copy. And paste it in here so that you're putting in your own Google Fusion table ID in place of the default one that Derek has. You also need to get your Google API key, that stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a free service that Google allows users to sign up for. Go get your code and replace it in place of Derek's. And this allows you to have something like 25,000 hits per day on your particular site. You can adjust other settings in Index, like the map center or the location scope, which would sort of tell roughly what area it's drawing it from. And then you want to commit this. It means like saving the changes directly to your GH Pages branch. Go back to the upmost level, and now you want to edit the README file to add your own demo link. Remember, we're looking at Derek's code because we forked his or copied his over. We have to edit his, and I'm going to take out a lot of stuff that Derek has in there. I'm going to delete that there and delete all this other stuff down below. But I want to keep the credit for Derek, who created the search template. And here, instead of his working demo, I'm going to follow that same format and type in my GitHub account, jackdoherty.github.io/ in the name of the repository, which is the same. And remember, whatever is committed here, this will appear on my live website because it's in my GH Pages branch. You can test your new demo link in a new tab. See, I made that little working demo. I'm going to try that in a new tab. And your current demo should look just like Derek's Chicago map, because you're using the same code right now. It may take up to 10 minutes for the first time for it to appear, and that's just the free GitHub Pages service. Now we're going to go in, and we're actually going to, in that GitHub Pages branch again, we're going to edit the index file again, and now we're going to add a filter. Derek has this wonderful explanation of how to insert filters so that your searchable map, you can sort of limit it to points in certain locations. And his instructions basically explain where to copy and paste different types of filters. This is the simplest one. Right here, I'm going to take out his code that just sort of explains that filters exist. And it goes right down to line 78 in his default. I just deleted that. And I'm going to go back over here to his tutorial page. And I'm going to go pick up the filter code. This is actually, I copied this into the datavizbook.org. He says, just to do a recycling services sample, you can copy and paste this right in here. If you want to understand, just understand how a particular filter works. So I've copied that in, and people who are smarter than me would know how to get it to appear indented correctly. I couldn't figure that out, but the code still works. I'm going to commit that change. I'm going to go up to the top level of the GitHub. And I'm going to edit the JavaScript/maps library file. This is to add the filter logic. The tutorial I wrote explains how you have to coordinate the logic between your Fusion table and everything else. But you can just follow along in the example here. I basically have to go down and find the spot where I can insert the custom filters. Right there, line 165, 166. I'm going to insert from the directions here that filter logic code in. And this is the part that goes along and actually sort of restricts the search to different types. Look at the tutorial to see the explanation of how these types have to line up. So I've pasted that code in and committed those changes. I'm going to go back up to the topmost level of the code in the GH Pages branch, and I can go try that working demo again and refresh your browser when you do this. Sometimes you need to wait a few seconds, at least remember the first time it may take 10 minutes, but wait a few seconds for it, refresh it, be patient sometimes. And now that filter is actually working just the way it's supposed to. I can turn on and off different types of points. And when I type in a Chicago address, the tool's working as expected. When I do the search, and it's going to zoom in, it's going to show me, I have to expand out of here a little bit, show me some of the recycling services within a 2-mile radius of my point there. That's the one that's in Derek's default Fusion table, just showing you how that code works. So I'm back here, and now I need to make a pull request to copy what I've done in the GH Pages branch to my master branch. GitHub Pages, you have different branches, and you want to sort of like, I recommend sort of experimenting in the GH Pages side, and then when you've got something you like, making a copy of it over to the master branch. So check the tutorial out. I'm going to do what's called a pull request. It's like copying over the code I've updated to the master branch from the GH Pages branch. There's all different ways to do this. Other people will use GitHub or differently and will use different tools for it. But if you're just experimenting with this, this is a perfectly fine way to learn about this. Follow through the directions in the tutorial about how to start the pull request and then to approve it and to merge it. And basically it's pulling the code from GH Pages over to the master branch, so I have it there for safekeeping. And I can go back and forth and see that my branches are about the same. There's another tool, GitHub for Mac or GitHub for Windows, and that's to clone and edit large repositories. This is a great tool to get if you're ready for the next step. And if you want to just make one fork, one version of Derek's branch, you could do that. But if you want to do multiple forks or move lots of files around, I downloaded the GitHub for Mac tool, and this allows me to clone the entire repository to my desktop. Now it's on my desktop. I can go look at that there. Just move this out of the way. You can see my repository. I'm going to create a new repository here for a second version of this template. I'll just call it something like a second template. Repositories are sort of like your own code versions that you're sort of hosting on GitHub, and that GitHub Pages allows you to sort of like not just hosting the code, but the actual how that that is hosted on the web for free. Initialize it with a README, create a license. I'm using the license that Derek recommends. When you create a blank repository, it'll just have just a license and a README in it. And I'm going to clone this one also to my desktop. Now what I'm doing here is, my goal is to make a second version of the template so I can modify it, have more than one of these searchable map templates. Because you can only fork one through the method I showed first, now I'm inside my own GitHub on my desktop here, and I'm going to copy and paste files from my first repository into my second repository. I'm going to copy those 10, go to that one called second template, and I'll paste those in. And I can choose to replace or keep the README that came along with it. And whenever you do this, you have to sort of, it's once again committing and syncing from your desktop to the GitHub cloud. Oh, make sure you type in a summary about what type of commit you're doing, what type of save it is. I'm just writing here, it's a new template. And I'm going to commit and sync. That means I'm sort of saving it from my desktop and pushing it back up to the cloud to my online repository. And if you look here, if I refresh this repository that I created, you'll see, poof, I've got all this code in here now. That came from Derek's template. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial.